evening. We like to get in touch with folks here in Kansas just to let you all know what Congress is working on, and as always, to answer any questions that you might have this evening. How this works is we'll take your questions for about an hour this evening, but certainly if you don't have the interest or the time and don't want to participate in the call, you can hang up at any moment. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletters before you hang up, if you want to press *9, that will take you to our voicemail, and you could leave us a message, your email address if you'd like to get on those distribution lists, and we'll get those out to you. If you can stay on the phone for a bit this evening and would like to make a comment or have a question, all you have to do is press *3 on your phone, and someone from my staff will get your name and put you in the queue to ask your question. Again, all you have to do to get in on the discussion is just press *3 on your phone. But before we get started with some of your questions, I'll take just a minute to update you on what we've been working on. It's been just over a month now into this new administration. We've seen an unprecedented effort by the minority in the Senate to slow walk cabinet nominations. Unfortunately, that kind of political gamesmanship has prevented some of our most critical administration secretaries from hitting the ground running on their legislative agendas. We've got health care, taxes, and a lot of other important issues that are big legislative lifts, and they're going to consume a lot of Washington's attention over the coming months. It will be an interesting discussion, and we hope that you will engage us on that. Again, this is Lynn Jenkins, your representative here in Congress. We are hosting a conference call this evening. Take your questions for about an hour. If you'd like to make a comment or ask a question, all you have to do is press *3 on your phone, and one of my staff members will get your name and we'll get you in the queue to ask the question. That's *3. With regards to the tax reform, most of you know I'm on the Ways and Means Committee, which is the chief tax committee in D.C., and as a CPA who practiced in the tax area for almost 20 years, I've seen firsthand the challenges businesses and families face with tax code. I found a Kansan yet that really agrees with the status quo. House Republicans have offered our version of tax reform, which is available for you all to read at better.gop if you have internet access, or contact our office and we can direct you to it. There's one component of our tax plan that's been in the news quite a lot lately, and that is it's referred to as the border adjustment. Border adjustment is just simply a method that seeks to level the playing field between goods being made here in America and goods that are imported by levying a tax on those goods that are imported. Border adjustment is one idea to pay for tax reform, and there are going to be some good debates on this provision and many others on how to pay for the reforms. Any tax reform plan worth doing is going to have to be deficit neutral, because we don't want to add a dime more to the debt to our great country. And I can't tell you when the final pay-fors in tax reform will happen or what they will be, because it's an ongoing discussion, and we're anxious to take your input. What I can tell you is at the end of the tax reform debate, we're going to make sure that American businesses can compete in the 21st century, and we simplify the code for individuals so that they'll be able to do their own taxes on something as simple as a postcard. And I'm happy to go into more detail on the reform package if you have an interest as our conference call goes on this evening. As always, if you don't have the interest in staying with us or the time, all you have to do is hang up. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail before you leave, you can press *9, and that will take you right to our voicemail. And if you'd like to leave your email address, we would be happy to put you on our electronic newsletter so you can find out every week what we're doing. We're also, of course, on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all those social media outlets. If you just joined us, again, this is Lynn Jenkins, your representative here in Congress. We're hosting a conference call this evening. If you'd like to get in on the discussion and ask a question or make a comment, all you have to do is press *3 on your telephone, and we'll get you in the queue to ask a question. I mentioned earlier healthcare reform is going to be another big issue for this Congress. House Republicans and the president alike all ran on repealing and replacing Obamacare, and we're going to do what we said we would do. And I realize there are a lot of scare tactics being used when it comes to health care reform, but there are a few things that you need to know. Last week, the House began marking up the American Health Care Act, which is the new proposal, the replacement bill, which that will be the first step in our three-part process to replace the existing Affordable Care Act and provide a patient-centered solution to our healthcare system. Our plan keeps some of the provisions that I've advocated for, including protections for pre-existing conditions, annual and lifetime caps, allowing children to stay on their parents' insurance up to 26, things like that. As many of you know, the Congressional Budget Office released their report late yesterday, where they did their assessment of the first part of the health care reform. And under that, folks will have the ability to decide if they want to pay for health care or not, unlike Obamacare, which penalizes people for having a choice. The replacement bill is just the first phase of bringing this patient-centered healthcare solution to our healthcare system. There's a lot more work to be done, and I look forward to reviewing the CBO score further and hearing from Kansans in the coming weeks. As I review the legislation and it moves through this open and transparent process, I do appreciate any and all feedback from you, and I'll ensure that we'll listen to your concerns and your ideas and your thoughts. If you'd like to learn more about it, you can read it online. It's just at readthebill.gop. Readthebill.gop. Again, this is Lynn Jenkins, your representative in Congress. We're hosting a conference call for the next hour. If you don't have the interest, you can hang up. If you'd like to stay on and make a comment or have a question, you just press star 3. If you need to run off but still have a question, if you press star 9 before you depart, that will take you to our voicemail and you can leave us a message. So with that, we'll start taking your questions. Remember, it's just star 3 if you'd like to get on in on the discussion. Thank you again for being on the call today. Please stay on the line and we'll have a good discussion. I'm also conducting a little informal poll for any of you that would like to participate. This is a question for you. There's been a lot of talk about our nation's healthcare system lately, so tonight's poll, we wanted to find out what you think. I'd like you to press 1 if you agree with the Republicans' replacement bill, the American Health Care Act. Press 2 if you want to keep Obamacare. Press 3 if you want single-payer health care, and press 4 if you're undecided at this point. So with that, we'll turn to your first question.
Your response has been registered.
Anne is first up.
Yes. Hello?
Hi.
Hi. I'm so glad that I was able to take this call and be a part of this today. I'm sorry to hear that you're not going to be running for us again.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Well, I wasn't happy about it, and I told my husband, I said, we just got this thing. She's not running again. But the Affordable Care Act thing, Obamacare, didn't vote to have it replaced. I voted to get rid of it. Why do we need to replace it? That's my question.
Yeah,
because it's cost so much money. My husband and I's insurance has quadrupled since this thing went into effect. So, and I'm not the only one it's hit like that. So
yeah, I think the problem, Leanne, is it's not like we can undo Obamacare and go back to the days before Obamacare, because the markets have been ruined. People have been thrown into healthcare plans they don't need, they don't want, and there's no place for them to fall back to. And so at this point, it feels like you can't just undo the damage that's been caused by Obamacare by waving a magic wand. You need to provide.
Can they, for the low-income people, can they not just expand the Medicare and Medicaid? That's my question.
And that is what happens in the replacement bill, is we pull out all of the taxes, the tax increases that were in Obamacare. We take out all of the mandates. Mandates generally create, monopolies and take away people's choices. And as we saw with Obamacare, premiums skyrocketed, choices declined. And so what we're trying to do is provide some stability within the system and, make sure that folks on Medicaid are not going to lose coverage. Folks on Medicare should be unaffected, and to make sure folks with employer plans are still having access to those. And then as we live in a transient society where people don't, go to work for one company and stay there for a lifetime like folks used to do, to give them a backpack of sorts, a tax credit for them to go buy health insurance in the open market. And we think it's a good, solid proposal. It's still in the very early phases. I guarantee you it won't look as it looks today. If and when it should get to the president for signature, there's going to be numerous changes to it between now and then. And I appreciate your input, Leanne. If you have ideas on what we can do differently, don't hesitate to shoot us an email or call back.
Well, I appreciate the work you've done and that you are doing for us. And like I said, I'm kind of sad that you're not going to be running again, because I feel like you're one of the people who have listened to us. And I don't want people to go around without insurance if they can't, if they can't afford it. But I also know that what it's done to us. And I just don't think we should penalize people if they can't afford insurance, not to buy. Do you understand where I thought it was really sad to penalize people because they can't afford the insurance.
Right. We're just hoping, I think we all have the same goal, and that's just to make sure can be covered with health insurance if they would like to be covered. And right now, the cost makes it cost prohibitive. The taxpayers can't afford the rising cost, and folks can't afford health care without the insurance. And so we're going to get this to a point where we drive down the cost of health care, the cost of premiums, so that every American can afford to get the policy that they need and want for themselves.
But there will be no mandate that you have to buy insurance after this.
No mandates. The mandates and the taxes will be pulled up, yes.
Okay, because I'm like, if I buy a car, I'm responsible to buy the insurance. If I don't, then I could go to jail. That should be my responsibility, not my neighbor's. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
That's how I feel about health insurance. If I can afford it and I buy it, that's my responsibility, not somebody else's.
Act, as it really is called, and why that it cannot be tweaked, so to speak. I know there are a lot of good parts to it, or the AMA and the doctor organizations are against it as it is being talked about at the present time. So I am in the medical field, and so I have deep respect for their feelings and their interpretation. So that's my question there. My next question is on Social Security. We haven't had a raise in any form or fashion for the last 3 to 5 years. I don't know, it's been a long time. And I was wondering why they keep borrowing from the Social Security funds, never paying it back, and yet they don't take care of the people that have paid into it for 50. I'm 84 years old, and I paid a large sum into the Social Security avenues, and I don't feel like I'm being justly cared for, because they keep just putting us down, and the cost of living sky highs. Every time I go to the grocery store, it's enormously, gigantically more. And I'm very upset with the two issues of the Affordable Care Act and Social Security.
Yeah, great thoughts. You mentioned, why we just can't tweak it. Actually, there are some similarities between the proposal that would replace it and the original Obamacare, and that's why we have some folks on the very conservative end of the political spectrum that aren't happy with it either. So we've got folks on both sides that aren't particularly happy, which generally tells you you've hit the sweet spot. You know, folks that have pre-existing conditions we're taking care of. In Obamacare, they're taken care of in the repeal and replace bill. There's annual and lifetime caps in Obamacare. There are annual and lifetime caps in the replacement bill. Allowing children to stay on their parents' insurance up to 26 is in Obamacare. It's in the replacement bill. So there are going to be, parts we're going to keep, the parts that are hurting the healthcare system and causing people to lose their insurance or making it unaffordable and not holding healthcare costs in check. Those are the parts that are going to go. We're not too terribly concerned that special interest groups, so whatever they may be, the association of this, the association of that, we're not particularly concerned about catering to their preferences. What we are catering to is the American people. The folks that I work for are the people in the 2nd Congressional District, and I've spent the last 8 years traveling this district far and wide, listening to their concerns about the health care bill and what we could do to repeal and replace it. And I promised to do that when I ran in 2010, 2012, 2014, and 2016. And so I'm just trying to do exactly what I told people that I would do. As it relates to Social Security, the President of the United States determines the cost of living adjustments for our seniors, and President Obama chose not to do much of that during his tenure. We're hoping that will change, because I agree with you. When you're on a fixed income and the cost of living is going up, I think it's incredibly hard to continue to pay your bills. But Social Security is referred to as an entitlement for a reason. It's because you are due that, and you will get that, regardless of whether there's other programs that need the money. Social Security will always come first. Now, we have some ideas on a way to shore it up and to make sure it's solvent and there for the next generation, and we hope to pursue some of those. But none of those changes would affect folks that are in retirement like you, or folks that are even near retirement. But for the young folks, there might be some adjustments in order to save it so it's there for them. Does that help?
You always refer to it as Obamacare, when it's really the Affordable Care Act. I think many people are misled by that.
Yeah, I think Obama embraced that, and that was his preferred way to refer to it. So we're trying to make the former president happy by giving him full credit for his health care bill. All right. You have a good evening. Again, if you'd like to take our poll question, we'll have that up until the end of the conference call. The question is what you think about the healthcare system and the proposal on the table. We just want you to press 1 if you agree with the repeal and replacement bill. Press 2 if you would like to keep Obamacare. Press 3 if you prefer to move to a single payer, and press 4 if you're undecided. If you'd like to get in on the discussion, all you have to do is press *3 on your phone. One of my staff members will get your name, and we'll get you in the queue to ask a question.
Congresswoman, we have George live on the line with you. George, you are live with the Congresswoman.
Thank you. I assume that's me.
Is this George?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, which question?
Thank you, Representative Jenkins, for allowing my comment. Actually, I've got a couple of them. First, I'm opposed to any effort on the part of government to place any tariff, any import tariff, import limitation, or protectionist economic act against foreign imports. Economists have repeatedly stated that the only benefit created is a financial benefit to government, and the same economists have also stated that the only protection people receive from these acts is being protected from lower prices. That's all I had on that one. And if I also may address the health care issue.
Diane on the line next.
Okay. Sorry, William. I You were next. I guess Diane is.
Hi. When we elected Trump, we expected that Obamacare was going to be repealed. And a lot of the calls before me have echoed that very same thing. Now Paul Ryan is telling us first we have to do this, and I understand the budget reconciliation thing, but then he's telling us, okay, in phase 2 and phase 3, the good things are going to happen. Why can't phase 3 be the first phase and the good things happen in first phase? My real question is, when are phase 2 and phase 3 going to be rolled out? Because I don't think we have the patience for a year for this to happen. I think it's got to happen fairly soon. So that's my question. When is phase 3 going to happen?
They're ideally all going to happen, at nearly the same time. The reason it's 3 phases is you have to use the process of reconciliation in order to repeal Obamacare. And we, I know it's hard for people to understand, but we actually have friends across the aisle on the Democrat side of the aisle that may agree Obamacare is a complete and total disaster, but they're really not at liberty to cast a vote to repeal it. They feel like they'd be selling their folks out at home. And so they're going to ask Republicans to repeal the thing with Republican votes. And the only way to do that is through reconciliation. The rules are extremely tight. So the first step is to repeal it and get as much of a replacement bill in that repeal as possible. But we're limited by the Byrd rule over in the Senate, and the parliamentarian is the independent, nonpartisan keeper of the goal there. They decide what is birdable and what is not. And so the reason you can't do it all in one bill is it's just a parliamentary procedure in the Senate, and rules of reconciliation, which really just require a simple majority rather than the filibuster in the Senate, that has tied our hands on what we can do just all in one shot. So we'll do as much of the repeal and the replace in the first step, but simultaneously, step 2 is now that the new Secretary of Health and Human Services, Dr. Price, from our own committee, has been confirmed and is now Secretary. We have been actually for weeks now working with him on things he can do through executive action to repeal and replace. There are a whole lot of things that Kathleen Sebelius did as Secretary of Health and Human Services that she just went around Congress and did through executive action. We're going to ask Tom Price to undo the harmful things that were done there and do what he can, and that list is ongoing. If you would like to add anything to it, call our office and we'll get your request on the list. And then the third and final piece is anything that wasn't birdable in the reconciliation bill, couldn't be done there, that Tom can't do through executive action as Secretary, then that third cleanup piece of legislation, which will be something subject to the filibuster, it will need to be bipartisan, therefore, because we'll need 60 votes in the Senate. That will be the final cleanup, but that's going to be, I think, a popular piece of legislation. It sure is shaping up to be, because that will have the pieces that really make health care affordable and much improved over the current system. Things like allowing folks to buy insurance across state lines and things like that. So we're working on all of them together. It's a comprehensive plan. It just has to be cut up in bite-sized pieces. We're not going to do this with a 2,300-page bill dropped in the middle of the night. We're trying to go through regular order and do it the right way.
So it sounds like you're saying that maybe within a month all of this will be over and done with.
Ideally it would be, done before Easter, but if it's not, we'll take as much time as it needs to be done right, and in a way that the American people will have a better health care delivery system to be able to get what they would like out of their health care system at a price that they can afford, to provide, roads and bridges across the nation, and to be that safety net when people fall on hard times or are unable to care for themselves. But we do it differently in the replacement bill than the way that Obamacare delivered this. Under Obamacare, the people that were were in the exchanges that didn't have pre-existing conditions had to absorb the cost for folks that had pre-existing conditions entirely. What we're doing is spreading that risk over a greater pool, and they're going to be state-run access pools that will have federal dollars that flow through to the states to ensure folks who have some kind of chronic illness that wouldn't otherwise have access to care are taken care of and don't fall through the cracks. And so we're committed to that piece of the legislation. And so, William, I hope it's going to be something that you can get happy with on balance with that still in there.
Thing that bothers me greatly is these courts that are allowing the illegal aliens to come into this country and murder us. So I think we need to do something about those courts. So anyway, just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah, we're working immigration issue. Again, like I said, the main function of the federal government is to keep us safe, and certainly the illegal immigration issue is one of national security where we just don't know who's coming into the country, and we need to do our due diligence and make sure that Americans can sleep at night and be safe, all the while providing a way for folks to come here legally and not have it be something that is unattainable, because this nation has been built by some pretty awesome people that have come here legally through the legal immigration system. So next in line is Chuck.
That's me, I think.
Okay.
Okay. Well, first off, I was wondering about the wall. Where do you stand on that, and where are we on it?
Well, this whole wall concept isn't a new one. Back in 2006, Congress passed the original, I think it was the Secure Fence Act, and it passed with bipartisan support in the Senate. There were less than 20 votes against it, and it's been the law of the land since '06. Certainly, currently, the debate surrounding the wall is simply how to fund it. And the president suggested to pay for the wall with a surcharge on trade with Mexico. There hasn't been a consensus on that issue yet. I think that's a heavy lift for him. But again, it's an issue of national security, one that the Department of Homeland Security is going to be terribly engaged in. And, it's a debate we're going to have, and I'm going to stay true to the debate. And if you have advice and counsel as this issue moves forward, I hope you'll be happy to share your ideas with us.
Well, I think I don't care who pays for it. I mean, it'd be great if they could put some kind of surcharge on the fund transfers. People come here illegally, they get a job with a phony Social Security number or a stolen Social Security number, and then they send money back to Mexico or wherever, Guatemala, wherever they're from. And if you could tax that a little bit, I probably wouldn't come close to paying for it, but it might help. But even if we didn't get that done, pay for it. We could pay for it and be money ahead over the long haul. That's my opinion anyway. I've been told that the immigration system is broken, but that's kind of like if I threw my keys into the bushes and told people that my doggone truck was broke because it wouldn't start. Nobody's tried to use it for how long? They haven't enforced the laws that are existing. So it looks like maybe we're starting to get a handle on that. I hope anyway.
Well, I so appreciate your input, and we'll stay tuned with you.
Can I have...
Next in line is Jennifer.
Hello.
Hi.
I have a question about the Affordable Care Act. I was actually an eligibility counselor for them. And my husband actually gets his insurance through his employer there. Are you guys planning on doing away with that portion of it? Because if we don't mandate for employers to carry that and offer that insurance, I have a feeling that his employer will stop that.
Yeah, no, there won't be any mandates anymore because mandates generally don't work, and that's how people end up with something they don't want and can't afford. But what you will have access to if the employer chooses not to provide it is you'll have access to the refundable tax credit that you get up front to go into the market and buy the kind of policy that you do want.
So is it going to... Oh.
Yeah, so that's what you would have access to.
So I hear that it's going to be like a $2,000 amount that you're giving people to put towards their insurance. Is that correct?
It's $2,000 per person in this first draft, but what we learned yesterday is that rather than saving $2 billion, which is what our goal was, the bill saves $336 billion. So I have a feeling the numbers might get bumped up as we move through the process. You know, this bill has to go to Budget Committee, then it has to go to the Rules Committee, then it has to go to the full floor, then it has to go to the Senate, all over. So you've not seen the final bill, I will guarantee you that, just in the first phase. And I've got a 40-year-old staff member that already went to you'll be able to be back in charge of your health care rather than letting an insurance company tell you what you need and providing. It sounds like you're a male, providing you with OB and pregnancy care, something that you might not need.
I mean, on that part, ma'am, and with all due respect, it takes two to tango. And if I have unprotected relations with a woman, that is part of my responsibility to take care of my future child.
Then I hope you would pay part of her health insurance that should cover that. I have a son and a daughter. I'm paying for pregnancy care for my son who is not going to need that.
Well, and again, it's kind of like car insurance. You know, I mean, hey, I may not have an accident, but if I do, I'm glad that that's there. Because for me, I was raised by a single-parent mom. I knew my dad, but he wasn't around, and it was up to her to take care of everything.
Your insurance is not going to take care of your child's mother. That's why she is going to get insurance. You are not going to need OB care. Your wife will need OB care. And so that's just one easy example for people to understand that people are paying for things they don't need and they don't want in their insurance policies. We're going to allow you to come up with a plan that you work with your insurance company on and choose the plan that you want. You don't have the federal government telling you what you need when you don't need it and asking you to pay for things that you don't need or want. That is just that simple.
Oh, okay. Well, and I want to thank you for your time, ma'am, and answering my questions. And
you bet. You have a great evening.
You too, ma'am. Thank you.
You bet. Is Nancy.
Congresswoman?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I live in the country. There might be a little rural there. My question is, I make about $14,000 to $15,000 a year. I'm self-employed, and my insurance premium is $400 a month. And my medication runs me about $200 a month. So I'm one of those people, because there's no expansion of Medicaid, that I'm considered at poverty level and in the hole. And now I understand that they want to completely phase out Medicaid as part of your plan. Can you, give me a little thought on that?
Yeah.
Help me out here.
You're being lied to. There's no phase out of Medicaid in the replacement bill. In fact, what we do is we fix the gap that you're falling in. A whole lot of people just like you that make too much to qualify for Medicaid and not enough to qualify for Obamacare. And there's 56,000 Kansans, I think, that fall in that. It sounds like you're one of those. Day one, under the Republican replacement bill, you're covered. And that's the beauty of this per capita Medicaid and subsidy plan. So you ought to be pulling big time for something like this to get accomplished. And I'm sorry that you've fallen through the cracks with the Obamacare and the Medicaid as it has existed the last 8 years.
What are they going to do about all the people that are then on Medicaid exclusively? Because if they take away Medicaid for those people, the absolutely poor that, they get all their health services through Planned Parenthood and things like that. I mean, it just seems like those people are going to fall through the cracks too. I mean, is there going to be plans in place for those kind of people as well?
Yeah, the Medicaid is well taken care of in the replacement bill. In fact, it's moving to a per capita reimbursement plan, which is more federal dollars being guaranteed to come through these to help folks in the Medicaid space. It's called the per capita provision. And the Planned Parenthood issue really doesn't work here in Kansas in the 2nd Congressional District because we don't have a Planned Parenthood facility in the 25 counties that I represent. So those monies we're hoping will go to the federally qualified health centers that exist all over the 2nd Congressional District the folks that I work for.
So will there be more options as far as people that we can get insurance through in our district then? Like more insurance companies?
Well, that's our hope. We're going to expand insurance across state lines, which will increase competition and broaden the economies of scale and give a company in Pennsylvania an opportunity to come into Kansas and compete for your business. There are a third of the counties in the United States that don't have a choice of who qualifies or who covers them. It's just a monopoly. There are counties in America that don't have any insurance company that will go in and cover them under Obamacare. It's in what they call a death spiral, with the premiums going up and the competition going down. This can't be sustained. It's hurting Americans and certainly hurting folks here in the 2nd Congressional District. So we're going to step in here and try to save the system before it's too late.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your conversation. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. If you haven't caught the poll question this evening, you got another chance to participate in that before the call comes to an end. This was our question for the evening. There's been a lot of talk, of course, about our national healthcare system lately, so we want to know what you think. Press 1 on your phone if you agree with the Republicans' repeal and replace bill. Press 2 if you want to keep Obamacare as it exists today. Press 3 if you're supporting the single-payer healthcare system. Press 4 if you're just unsure. Next is James.
Oh. Hello.
Yes.
How come you guys can't just repeal Obamacare lock, stock, and barrel?
It's like the third person.
Well, because we promised to repeal it and replace it so the American economy wouldn't go into a tailspin from folks who wouldn't have access to quality health care across the nation. There are some people that are relying on the federal government as a safety net. There are families, living paycheck to paycheck. And so we're doing what we said we would do when we ran, like I said, in 2010, 2012, 2014, and 2016. It's kind of amazing when elected officials actually do what they said they would do.
Well, that's amazing. I like the idea of being able to cross the state lines and become more competitive, like you guys were talking about earlier with the insurance deal.
Yep.
So is Congress going to fall under these new rules too, or are you guys going to have your own little package like you did before?
Well, do you not know that we're required to be in Obamacare?
You are?
Yes, have been for the last 8 years.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, we don't write rules that are different for ourselves.
I was under the wrong impression there. Okay, that's all I want to know.
The news media seems to me then to be not reporting correctly, because it sounds like when I'm all in favor of repeal and replace, but it sounds like when they're replaced that half or more of the country won't be insured, and so then people aren't understanding why, because they really aren't going into that.
Right, and the reason is because a lot of them will be young and healthy, and they won't feel the need to be forced to buy it as they are now.
I wish that was a little more clarified with the news media. But my second question is there any hope to have supplemental insurance costs, that supplemental insurance to Medicare, those costs to go down? Because many seniors are to the point where they can't afford it.
Yes, we already have that, and that will continue. The Medicare-like Advantage.
Well, but I mean, in some counties, the Advantage plan does not work, or in parts of the state. So therefore, people have to have like a supplemental, which is expensive.
Yeah. Well, those will be those will be available. But the whole, one of the goals of this repeal bill is increasing competition to drive down the cost of the premiums in those counties, and so I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. They will become more affordable. But this replacement bill, has no direct impact on Medicare other than just some collateral benefit by driving down costs on the supplemental plan. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes, it does, and that's the way I understood it. But my hope was that there would be more competition so that the supplemental cost would not be almost prohibitive to many seniors over 65.
You and I are on the same page. That's the goal, and we've been told by analysts that that's what the bill would do. So, we're going to keep moving forward until, we learn that it can't work, or if we can come up with a better idea somewhere along the way.
Okay, thank you so much for all you're doing.
You bet. Thank you. Tony?
Congresswoman, we have Tony on the line for you.
Yes, ma'am. I'm calling from southeast Kansas, and I have 3 young adult children here that are having a real tough time finding a job. And in that, they're having a tough time finding health care. And they all have asthma, and the best we can do is go to the community clinic, and it still costs $40 to pay for an inhaler. And I got hit by a car a few years ago, and I'm on disability. Kind of messed me up kind of good. So I'm taking care of 5 people on $1,100 a month, and it's not working well at all. The kids, they try and get out and get a job. The best my wife could do was find a couple of paper routes, which makes her about $80 a month.
Well, with this alternative health care bill, you'll probably get about $14,000, sounds like, with your family in refundable, that's upfront federal tax dollars. It'll be a tax credit that's refundable. That means even if you don't pay any income tax, it comes to you, that you will be able to take and buy in a marketplace where prices will be going down on premiums to get your family covered. If that is not enough, you can always look to see if you qualify for the pre-existing condition access pools or, of course, the Medicaid program. But the whole goal here is to make sure that every American is covered with insurance, that no one is thrown off of their health care coverage, that we improve the system, and it sounds like we can do that easily for you and your family. We wish you all the best.
Well, we're all trying to get jobs and get education, and I'm re-educating myself to get a college degree to try to be able to do something else. I was in food service, and I can't stand for more than 2 minutes at a time, and so I'm going back to school. try and re-educate myself and find a different job. At 62, that's kind of tough.
Yeah, good for you. We're proud of you, Kate. Best of luck to you. I think you nailed it. The best thing we can do for everyone in Kansas and across this country is get the economy moving so everyone that wants a job can have a job, and it's going to be a well-paying job that they can support their family and be able to afford health care and live the kind of life they want to live. So we appreciate and wish you all the best, your thoughts this evening. And with that, we're going to just be flat out of time tonight, and we appreciate all of you that have hung in here with us. Thank you for participating in the conference call. If you were in the queue and had a question, I'm sorry if we weren't able to get to it, but you'll have an opportunity to leave us a message at the end of the call, so don't hang up just yet. We're here to work for you every day of the week, so certainly don't wait for us to give you a call for a conference call. All you have to do is give our office a call anytime during the office hours, and we're